Yeah, that looks like that ought to do it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I thought today we would do something just a little bit different. I've never talked about this before. I pulled my hat up a little bit so I'm not such an outlaw, you know. I've already got enough problems here on YouTube. But anyway, I wanted to share something with you guys that has been a massive game changer to the way that my wife and I, as homesteaders, approach our gardening, okay? You may have heard of this before. If you haven't heard of this, I encourage you to go do a ton more research. I'm just going to tell you what I've learned about it in the past 3 or 4 years since we've been doing it. You can see back here behind me, hopefully. Yeah, you guys can see that. I've got 3 mounds built up back here. And the purpose of those mounds, I'd say they're maybe 2 or 3 feet across. And it comes up to, you know, like a volcano or something that you would make out of mashed potatoes or whatever, right? For your gravy. It's got a little bit of a bowl in there, not too much because you don't want to drown things out, but we're getting ready to put in a series of 3, a set of 3 Three Sisters gardens. And this was discovered, I guess, the Native Americans were the first ones that they talked about doing this, but it is a fantastic way. I've tried growing corn in rows out here in my backyard, and it usually either gets windblown right before it's harvest time. It's always so tragic. You can see that the corn is mostly ready, and then a big windstorm will come along. Well, this Three Sisters garden, because it relies on corn for, you know, your vertical, your upright, and then you have pole beans. You have to get the kind that vine. I made a mistake the first year and I got bush beans and it didn't really work very well. It still produced a lot more food than I was used to getting off that amount of space. But that being said, you want to make sure to get what they call pole beans. And I searched and searched. There was only one package up at the store there where I ended up buying them. But anyway, you've got 3 different plants that are companion species. They help each other out. The last one in the list is some sort of squash. Now, I went with summer squash, and I've already got a couple that my father-in-law gave me that are already plants. Ideally, the way you're supposed to do this, I probably should have started this like 3 weeks ago, and I should have put the corn in first and got it growing so that it could get established, and then you plant everything else, because if you're not careful about it, your beans and your squash can overtake your corn and not give it enough sun. But the idea of the squash is it shades the ground, thus reducing the amount of water that's going to be required. And whatever water you do get naturally or from watering or whatever is going to remain in that soil because it's shaded from the direct sunlight. So it's an excellent companion to corn and beans. And the beans do something else to the soil. They put nitrogen back in the soil, which is amazing. So before you do something like this, I mean, you could probably go out if you've got red clay like we do and sand. That's pretty much the 2 types of soil we have here where I live. And I'm in like, I think zone 7 or 8 or something like that. So it gets pretty hot here in the summertime is my point. And so it probably would have been more ideal if I'd have started this about maybe even as much as a month ago. That probably would have been a lot better, but you know, you just do what you can do. I've been working on trucks and doing other stuff that have pulled me out of the gardening scene. And my wife has had to carry that load for a little while, but now I'm trying to get on board and I want to surprise her. She's actually out visiting her sister right now. And I want to surprise her when she gets back, and hopefully at least the 3 sisters will be planted. And again, I'm just putting seeds in the ground. It may be too late, but I'm going to have to stay on top of the watering. And I wanted to bring you guys along and show you how easy this is and how little space this requires. So even if you have a city-size backyard, you should be able to put a couple of mounds of Three Sisters garden going. You'll get a ton of squash, a ton of beans, and a ton of corn. You know, the amount of corn you get is going to be dependent on how big your mounds are, because, you know, you got to give some spacing, like 1 foot apart. But anyway, let's get you pulled in there and let's put some seeds in the ground. I'm really excited about this. All right, so hopefully, as you can see there, we've got 3 mounds here that I made. And we're going to get down here and get our hands in the dirt because that's good. Personally, I like to start with the corn, and I'm using early golden bantam hybrid. I don't normally like to get hybrid corn, but this year I'm running so late, I need something that produces fairly quickly. So I'm just going to grab a handful of the corn kernels here I mean, I suppose if you had more time, you could soak these in a damp paper towel overnight, or maybe for a couple of nights until you start to see sprouts, and then you could stick them in the ground. But normally with corn, I just stick them straight in the ground. So they say about a foot apart. So I'm just going to go all the way around the outside ring here. And it looks like I'm going to get 4 in each one. You know what? I'm going to throw a third one, or another 5th one, I'm sorry, in the center there. So we're just going to take a corn kernel and drop it in a 1-inch hole that we make with our finger. And man, I'm telling you, it's good to get your hands in the dirt. It's cheaper than therapy. It's cheaper than a motorcycle or a guitar or any other forms of that sort of stuff. So I've already mixed a whole bunch of compost and rabbit manure in with this, so it ought to do really well, because our soil is not great here. As I said, we usually have a mix of red clay and sand, and right here in my backyard it's mostly sandy. Now, we have been working on it for years and years, so it's getting better as we go. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see this one a little better. I'm just going to poke holes, and I'm going to do them in a little different place on the clock here, on the dial, than I did on that one, just to see what happens. And that may make a difference, actually, because our sun predominantly comes from over here on this side. So you may want to think about that and how you orient your holes and your plants and stuff, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. We're just going with that 1-inch deep hole. It's super easy, and again, super fun in my opinion, just to get out here, put it in the ground. It's so exciting to see stuff come up. It's really great if you've got children. Get them involved in it. They love playing in the dirt anyway. Most of the time, as parents, we're telling them to keep out of the dirt, when I think in reality we should be telling them to get into the dirt. At least that's my opinion. So we'll just go around here. You know what? I'm going to go back to the way I did the first one, and we'll do it like this. And one in the middle. Now, you could put a lot more in here, but it may crowd out the others, so you don't want to do too much. I guess also you could put a lot more seed in, and then thin it out and keep the stronger plants that way. But honestly, seed prices are so much now. I'm sorry to complain about prices all the time, but every time I go buy something, I'm like, oh, God dang, that's a lot more than I remember, So I guess that's just part of getting old. So we've got all of our corn planted, which I would consider is the primary thing that you're going after. And here's a shot. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. And, again, I'm kind of doing it the wrong way. So if you're gonna do this, it may be, depending on where you are in the country, you may have plenty of time to do this if you have a longer spring than we have here. And yeah, I don't specifically say where I am, because, the world is a crazy place these days, if you haven't noticed. And there's a lot of people that will, if you ever say anything that's very opinionated, and especially if you're conservative or Christian or have classical American traditional values, there are groups of people out there. I probably don't have to tell you guys, but they will dox you, as they call it, and they will tell everybody where you are. And there's another one I'm trying to think of. It's called swatting, where they will call the police and tell them that you're up to something that's a complete fabrication. But it doesn't matter, because the police have to take every threat seriously. So it creates a situation that's very dangerous for law enforcement and the people that are involved. And usually it's because those people dared to express an opinion that was not in alignment with the mainstream narrative. So what they say online is what you want to do is kind of go around the ring here with your beans. And ideally, these beans are going to come up and vine up and hold that corn in place. That way, if a big wind comes, it keeps everything upright and vertical. And so, yeah, I really enjoy it. I like being out in nature and just being out on my property. Now, right now we're in the suburbs, but I still love this place. You know, when we bought this place, we thought we were going to be here forever, but other opportunities came up and other situations developed here that made me realize that we're not as far out into the country as we once were. It's just, you know, the whole thing is changing. So that's why we're trying to work on the 100 acres and get moved over there eventually, because, you know, I think we'll have an easier time. And I'm not really counting. I just put a whole bunch of them in around the ring. Let's see, what are these called? Garden beans. Blue Lake stringless pole. Want that pole bean. Okay. And again, I've just got a small impression here just so that hopefully it'll soak and the water will sit there a little bit and soak in. So we'll go a little quicker on this. But yeah, this has just been a real game changer for us. And I'm not going to do a real long form video here. What I'm planning to do is I'll come back, you know, later in the, in the summer, once this stuff has a good chance to establish, and we'll do an update video and we'll see how we did. I think I'm going to be able to get away with it. That's why I'm continuing on. Ooh, there's a rabbit turd right in there. That ought to give that bean some extra oomph. You know, it's a great way to put food on the table for real cheap, and you know it's fresh. You know it doesn't have a bunch of GMOs and stuff. I mean, unless you buy GMO seeds or something. It doesn't have any of that. Another thing I didn't mention is we have been, for the past couple of years, we've been doing biochar. So mixed in with our compost, we're adding biochar so that it will soak up the nutrients of any compost we're making. And we're putting a whole bunch of rabbit. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong place. I got to talking to you guys. You distracted me. We're putting a whole bunch of rabbit manure into our compost as we go. And so that biochar, according to what people say on the internets, that biochar will soak up that nutrients and like kind of slow release it into your soil. And so, yeah, I've learned a whole lot about that sort of stuff from, actually, there's a guy on YouTube. I highly recommend him. He's one of the shadow banned channels that I love to watch, and his channel's called Jack Spearco. Go check him out, guys. If you're not subscribed over there to him, watch a couple of his videos. He doesn't always talk about gardening and homesteading, but he does sometimes. So he's sort of like me. You know, I'm kind of all over the place. Well, he's sort of like that too, but I think he mixes it up enough, and he's more of a daily presence than I am here on YouTube. I guess that's his full-time job, and this is not my full-time job, although I'd love to make it my full-time job if I could stop being shadow banned. But I don't know how that's going to happen at this point. You know, they've kind of created a situation, or maybe I've created the situation by being who I am, that YouTube thinks I'm toxic. And they ban my stuff, no matter how innocuous it is. They don't let my viewers see it. And that's just a tragedy that I'm having to deal with all the time as I make these videos. So, all right, we got the beans and the corn planted. And there's no reason you can't add a fourth sister. In the past, I have done sunflowers. Of course, squash is the third sister. We're definitely going to put squash in, and I've got a couple of potted squash plants that we're going to put in. This one here was a hybrid. I really prefer to get organic when I can, but my fourth sister this year, I'm going to try peas, but I'm only going to put the peas, I think, on the back section because I have a piece of fencing back here. Because I don't want to choke out the corn. I just want it to hold well enough that it doesn't get windblown or anything like that. So I'm going to put a row of peas back here. It may not work. Maybe it will. My wife doesn't even like peas. I think she likes them when you eat them, the little pea pods or whatever, but when you actually wait for them to mature and turn into peas and you cook them up and they just kind of get mushy, and I agree with her. They're kind of gross, but you know what? Survival times, you got to do something. You got to do stuff that's a little bit uncomfortable. So we're going to try this as an experiment and see what we see. Just going to put it back here. You guys probably can't see it, but And I put like 4 or 5 in each one here. We'll see what happens. Same deal. All of these, I'm just going 1 inch deep, putting 1 seed per hole, and covering them up lightly. And when we're all done here, we'll give them a drink of water. And hopefully, in a few weeks, we'll have a bunch of little baby plants coming up. All right. Ooh, that's soft there. Okay. So yeah, I highly encourage you guys, get out there in the garden, do some stuff. Even if you don't have a huge yard, you don't need one. That's why I made this video. You don't need 100 acres to do this. You can do this in a city-sized backyard easily. And even if they don't do it all the time, it gives your kids something to do outside in nature. That makes them put the phone down, put the technology down, and just absorb their surroundings, which I think is very important. You know, one of the things that, I don't know if you guys can see me. No, you really can't in this frame, but I'm having to wear glasses now almost all the time. And I talked to my doctor about that. I'm like, man, what's the deal? Why is my close range vision getting so blurry? And she says, well, part of it's from getting older. And she said the other thing is we're spending a lot more time on the screen now. And when you're standing there, or you're not standing there, whatever, maybe you are, maybe you're looking at your phone. But when you're standing focused or staying focused on something like a computer screen for a really long time, according to my doctor, obviously that's not natural. And out in nature, your eyes would be focusing to and fro, here and far. You hear noise out in the woods over there or something, and you turn and you look and you focus. And what she was saying is that we're staying focus locked so much on computers and on screens that a lot of people are having problems with it. It's not just me and my wife and other people. So turn that screen off, get out in the garden, get out in nature. It's good for you. Your body needs it. The older I get, the more convinced I am that my body actually needs nature. Now the problem is sometimes I don't realize it until I'm already grouchy from being in the city too much or being around people too much. Doing too many taxes and stuff like that. Stuff that just angers me. All right. All right, so that'll be a cool little experiment. We'll see if any peas pop up back there. And last on the list is our squash. And we're going to put that farthest out on the ring. Getting a good sweat on. I think that's good for you too. But hey, that's just my opinion. There's lots of things I do that you would say are bad for you. You shouldn't do that. And you're probably right. But I try to counter those things by getting out in nature, sweating real hard, and working real hard. I think it's good stuff. So yeah, we'll just go around the ring here. Not right at the bottom, but near the bottom. And we're going to be pretty generous with these. I want a lot of squash. If you guys got any ideas or things that you can do to combat squash bugs, let me know down in the comments, because that's one thing that's been a plague on us, is that when their squash start producing good yield, then all of a sudden the squash bugs come out and then they eat them and destroy them. Why not? I'll put one right there too. It can compete with the peas. Yeah, I like yellow squash. My wife fries it sometimes. That's delicious. I mean, it's probably not something you want to have every day because of the, the health, nutritional value of it. But when she does fry it up, they're sort of like potato chips. They're so salty and good. And oh man, I just love it. So we want lots of squash. Let me know down in the comments, guys. Are you in a part of the United States that likes okra? Here in the South, we love okra, fried okra. And I've heard of it pickled, but I've never, actually I think I did try it once and it wasn't the worst. I liked it fried better, obviously. Okay, I went pretty heavy on that last one. And so I'm going to go a little less on these because I didn't have enough seeds. Am I even going to have enough for that? There's one. Okay, so I got 4 seeds left for over there. All right, and I do have a couple of plants that my father-in-law gave me that I'll stick in the ground here, but I'll do that off camera. And we'll come back here in just a minute, and we'll wrap up the video and talk about some of the other great things about this type of gardening. And maybe you guys, if you've done this, let me know. Are there any other 4th or 5th types of sisters or companions that you have added in and had really good luck with? We've done sunflowers in the past. I did bush beans and they did okay, but it didn't provide the anchor that I was looking for. See, I thought, oh man, that's growing already, but not quite that fast. Time does seem to be moving faster, but not quite that fast. So yeah, I used every one of those yellow squash, and they cost me $2.99 for that little bitty package. All right, so we'll get set up with some water. We'll come back, we'll water this in, and close the video. Well guys, we finally got everything in, and I actually did find another package of squash. So I put some more squash in that one that was a little low. Everything worked out. It was a little bit different variety. It was like a zucchini type squash variety, but that'll be pretty cool to give us some, you know, some variety. The whole idea is just it shades the floor down there so that it doesn't dry out so fast. But yeah, you can see I got my fence. I had a little piece of fencing and I leaned that up against that just to keep my dog Chloe from getting in there and getting muddy and curious. She loves playing in the mud. I did put 3 potted squash in that my father-in-law gave me, so they're definitely going to do something. It may be a little late for the corn, but that's why I got the early corn. I highly encourage you guys to give this 3 sisters technique a try. It's super easy. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You could just do 1 mound as an experiment. Wouldn't cost you more than $9 worth of seeds at $3 a package down there at Walmart or the dollar store, wherever you get your seeds. The grocery store is where I got mine. But yeah, I love this method, man. And I don't really have any way to put it into words in bushels or something like that. We don't grow enough corn to get bushels or truckloads or anything measurable like that. But what I can tell you is I've done the old fashioned, just cut rows and put corn in the ground. And I've done this, and this yields much better results. I mean, much, much higher yields in the long run for less space. And the bonus is you end up getting beans and squash as a side for that, you know, and it's so awesome. I love that sort of stuff. If you guys follow the channel, you know that one of the reasons we have rabbits and we have quail and we have chicken, and in the future I want to have goats over on my 100 acres and turning that into goat meat and fertilizer for the ground, because you know, there's that old saying comes to mind, there's nothing new under the sun. Yeah, there's some new developments and ways they've cross genetically modified a lot of these things to make them work better in certain environments and stuff and make things more pest resistant. But all we really have to do if we want to have organic, healthy, good food to put on our table is go back to the old ways. I mean, a lot of this stuff like the biochar comes from can't remember the name of that place, but there's a place, Terra Petra or something like that, down in the Amazon somewhere, South America, where they found this soil that's just amazing. It's the most rich soil they've ever seen, and it's just like black as, you know, black gold. And they can look around in the rainforest where, you know, once there was rainforest, and this group of people, you know, the Aztecs or the Mayans or whoever, you know, figured this out, that you could burn branches and sticks and twigs and things that you're cutting down and going to waste in the forest, and turn that into wonderful soil much faster than waiting for it to break down on its own on the forest floor. So highly encourage you guys to start looking into some biochar and some other things like that. And organic, you know, like a lot of people say Dawn dish soap and something else. I don't remember what it is. Maybe just Dawn dish soap and water is supposed to be good for squash bugs. And it probably is, but you have to stay on top of it. You have to do it a lot. And so if you're working full time, that can become difficult, because a lot of times when you're getting home, you're too tired to go out there and do it. So I'd still encourage you to look into, you know, old ancient ways that people did it, because again, there's nothing new under the sun. And you can figure a lot of this stuff out just through trial and error and experimentation. So guys, let me know down in the comments if you knew about Three Sisters Garden. Have you ever heard of this before? It's an ancient Native American technique that I'm telling you, do it. It yields great results. You will not regret it. You'll be thanking me. And don't just stop here. Go type in Three Sisters Garden, or Three Sisters. I guess that's all you probably need to type. It's Three Sisters. And it should pull that up, and you'll see a lot of information. You know, I didn't invent this, obviously. I'm not trying to take credit for it. A lot of people have made videos about this, but I was skeptical because, like you, I've seen a ton of videos that, you know, they make these promises and claims, and then when you try it yourself, it doesn't really work out that way. Well, this is one of those few rare, exceptional surprises that worked out better than I even expected it to. Go try it, guys. You won't regret it. Appreciate you tuning in. Get out there and turn some soil over, you know, put something in the ground. It's well worth it. It's well worth your time and effort. Thanks for stopping by. Until then, we'll see you next time.